Nena had another daughter. This time, the baby looked nothing like her sisters. She was tiny, with strange features, and not what Nena expected. Tears filled Nena's eyes in horror and sadness as she stared at the baby. Once upon a time, in a small village named Anaku, located in the eastern part of Nigeria, and under King Orji's kind rule, lived Chidi and Nena, a couple whose beauty was the talk of the town. Everyone in Anaku would dream aloud about their future children, sure that such stunning parents would only have the most breathtakingly beautiful kids. Just as everyone guessed, Chidi and Nena were blessed with 4 beautiful daughters: Apunaung, Ogoma, Oibo, and Beke. These girls were so stunning that anyone who saw them had to stop and look again. Their beauty became the pride of the village. People praised Nena's womb of beauty, and mothers often gifted the girls, hoping one day their sons would win their hearts. Years later, Nena had another daughter, but this time the baby looked nothing like her sisters. She was tiny and had strange features. She was not what Nena expected. Tears filled Nena's eyes in horror and sadness. Her husband, unable to face the unexpected, fled, claiming he couldn't stay with what he wrongly called evil under his roof. Nena's heart was shattered, torn between the pain of her husband's departure and the arrival of her strange child. Mixed up and overwhelmed, she kept the baby hidden, secretly wishing for her to quietly die. Yet as the child strongly clung to life, Nena slowly accepted her reality. She named the child Emerem Gini, meaning, "What did I do?" Emerem began growing up and grew up to be a very ugly girl. Her sisters treated her like she was a disease, and no one even cared if she was human. Her mother would never let her out of the house. She was always indoors to avoid the wagging mouths of the villagers, but it didn't stop them, as the villagers still talked. Emerem was turned into a slave in her own father's house because she was ugly and looked very tiny. She wasn't growing like every normal child. She did all the house chores in the house, yet no one appreciated her. At every slightest mistake, her mother would call her a cursed child. "What did I ever do to deserve a child like you? You do not look like your mother. You do not look like your father. You are an abomination." Sometimes Emerem doubted if Nena was truly her mother, as it seemed like she had only 4 children. But she endured all the ill treatments, hoping that she would die one day. She never thought there would ever be hope for her. Every day, Emerem sat alone and cried. She couldn't help but notice how different she looked from her sisters, and she couldn't understand what she had done to deserve such a harsh life. While her mother showered her sisters with lovely gifts, no one spared Emerem a glance, unless they needed her to do some chores. Emerem's mother made it clear she was not to leave the house. Yet whenever the house was empty, Emerem found comfort in the forest, beneath the comforting shade of a tree. There, surrounded by the quiet of the woods, she would sing. Singing breathed life into her, lifted her from her sadness, and for a brief time made her forget her troubles at home. Singing became a secret joy, and each evening, before anyone else came back, she would hurry home, holding on to the peace she found in her melodies. One day, while Emerem was lost in her songs under the tree, some girls returning with firewood spotted her, dropping their loads in fear. They raced home, shouting, "Evil spirits! Evil spirits! Evil spirits!" Realizing the danger, Emerem knew she had to rush home to avoid being caught. By sundown, rumors had flown across the village about an evil spirit haunting the Akara forest, which had supposedly sought refuge in Nena's house. Unknown to Emerem, some of the children who saw her followed her home as she ran, tracing the source of their fear right to her doorstep. The moment Nena heard this, she was so angry that she ran home, cursing at Emerem under her breath. "That evil child wants to embarrass me. Today I will deal with her." When she got home, she angrily asked Emerem why she left the hut against her instructions. But as Emerem opened her mouth to speak, she began to hit her. "You want to disgrace me in this village, you cursed child?" she lashed at her. When she left, Emerem cried her heart out, wishing death would take her. She couldn't bear the thought that she looked like nothing but an evil spirit in the eyes of the village children, and also couldn't understand why her mother hated her that much. "She didn't create herself," she cried. When everything had died down, her mother came into her room and called her out in the middle of the night. "I need you to escort me somewhere," she said to her. "A friend of mine needs help." Emerem was surprised. Her mother had never calmly spoken to her before, so she felt her mother regretted her actions towards her and wanted to make amends. So she followed her happily. They walked for a long time, crossing rivers and climbing mountains. But the journey was endless. At some point, Emerem got tired. "Mother, this place we are going to, is it still far?" "No," she responded, "we are almost there." Emerem was scared to provoke her mother by asking her more questions, but she wondered why her mother's friend had to live in that faraway forest. As they got to the middle of nowhere, her mother stopped and faced her. "I don't know how I got you, evil child. You have brought only pain to my heart, and I wish you died the day I had you. I have always prayed for you to die since I had you, but you refused to die. Rather, you have only brought me pain and shame. I won't allow you to embarrass me before the villagers. That's why I brought you here." She turned, leaving Emerem in the forest. Emerem cried and cried, pleading with her mother, but her mother ignored her and went back home. Emerem was heartbroken. The forest howled with different sounds of wild animals, and she clutched her heart in fear. Her mother had just abandoned her to die in the forest. Out of fear, she ran after her mother, calling and pleading with her not to leave her. But she lost her to the dark forest. She began wandering around the forest, and when she got tired, Emerem sat under a tree and cried her heart out. She knew she was going to die, and she prayed the death came quickly. The forest was dark and terrifying, and she closed her eyes. Soon sleep took over her. Emerem felt a gentle tap and opened her eyes to see an old woman in front of her. She quickly stood up, scared and shaking, almost wetting herself. She realized she was still in the forest and was puzzled to see the old woman there. Then the old woman spoke in a voice that was calm and comforting. "My dear, don't be scared. I mean no harm. I was just getting some cooking water and saw you. Why are you out here?" Emerem thought back to what happened the night before and started to cry. The old woman gently comforted her and then invited her to come home with her, saying she couldn't stand the thought of leaving Emerem alone in the forest. Emerem carried the water alongside the old woman as they headed to her home. They arrived at a simple, somewhat worn-down hut, hidden deep in the forest. Despite its appearance, the place was tidy, clearly someone's home. Emerem couldn't help but feel it was a bit strange. Who would choose to live all alone out here, she wondered. She was even more surprised when the old woman mentioned she had been living there for more than 20 years. The old woman's name was Uyegu. Uyegu offered Emerem food, and after eating, they began to talk. Emerem shared her heartbreaking story with Uyegu. As she listened, Uyegu's eyes welled up with tears. She felt so sorry for Emerem and couldn't understand why a mother would abandon her own child just because of how she looked. "But you are beautiful, my dear," Uyegu said with tears in her eyes. "How could anyone think otherwise?" Emerem looked at her, surprised and a bit confused, wondering if the old woman was joking or perhaps had trouble seeing. Uyegu reassured her, "Trust me, my dear, you are beautiful, and soon the whole world will see it too. I promise you that." But to Emerem, it sounded like wishful thinking. How could the whole world see what wasn't there? After their talk, Uyegu told her she was welcome to stay as long as she wanted. She was happy to have some company after being alone for so long. Emerem thanked her, feeling grateful for Uyegu's kindness. Over time, Emerem started helping with chores around the hut. She fetched water from the stream, gathered firewood, and helped cook meals. Uyegu, seeing how hard Emerem worked and how kind she was, grew very fond of her. She felt that the gods had sent Emerem her way for a reason. A few days later, Uyegu asked Emerem if she would stay in the forest with her. She admitted that she was getting older and would really appreciate the help and the company. Plus, Uyegu couldn't imagine letting Emerem go back to the village where she had been treated so badly. Emerem was so happy because she never imagined that Uyegu would ask her to stay with her. She loved Uyegu, as she was the only one who had ever cared for her and treated her like a human. She accepted to stay with her, and Uyegu promised to show her all she needed to know about the forest, and they both would live together like a family. Time went on, and both of them bonded so well. Uyegu told Emerem stories about how she came to live in the forest. She told Emerem that she was once a very beautiful young girl, and that her beauty was the talk of the whole village. She was also very powerful and could do magic. She saw the future and knew remedies to incurable diseases. These unique abilities of hers made the elders of the village afraid of her. They felt threatened by her powers, fearing she might use them for evil, or perhaps they were just envious of her gifts. Whatever the reason, they branded her a witch and convinced the villagers to turn against her. In an act of cruelty, they decided to end her life by removing her heart, believing it was the source of her powers. But Uyegu, with her foresight, saw their plan before it happened. Knowing what was coming, she used her powers to make her heart invisible and fled into the forest to escape their wrath. The villagers pursued her deep into the woods, but when they tried to carry out their plan, they couldn't find her heart. Confused and frightened by what they couldn't understand, they left her for dead in the forest, thinking she wouldn't survive. But Uyegu did survive. She made the forest her home, living there for over 20 years, away from the people who wronged her. The story broke Emerem's heart. She couldn't believe that Uyegu had gone through such pain and betrayal, just like she had. It made her feel even closer to Uyegu, knowing they both had been hurt by those who should have cared for them. She hugged Uyegu tight as tears rolled down her eyes. "Thank you for saving my life and staying alive for me. I promise never to leave you alone," Emerem said as she hugged her tightly. From that day forward, Emerem and Uyegu grew even closer, like mother and daughter. They supported each other through the pain of their pasts, finding comfort and strength in their bond. Together they built a life in the forest, far from the cruelty of the outside world. Meanwhile, back in Anaku, the kingdom was buzzing with excitement. King Orji had announced a big decision. His twin sons, Prince Dike and Prince Ikenna, were to take on a quest into the sacred forest. This wasn't just any task, it was a test of strength and wisdom. The prize? The Staff of Leadership, a symbol of rightful rule and the future kingship of Anaku. The entire village looked forward to this event with excitement. Both princes were beloved, but in different ways. Prince Dike was known for his kind heart and fairness. He was the type of leader people felt they could trust, someone who listened and cared. Prince Ikenna, on the other hand, was admired for his strength and confidence. However, there was a shadow over his character. He was known to be a bit greedy and power-hungry, traits that didn't sit well with everyone. The rules of the quest were clear and rooted in tradition. The princes would venture into the forest alone, relying only on their wits and strength. They were to find the Staff of Leadership, hidden within the forest's depths. This staff was no ordinary object. It was said to choose its bearer, revealing the true king of Anaku. The challenge was set for the 4th day of the native week, a time considered blessed by the kingdom's customs. On the appointed day, the village gathered to see the princes off. There was an air of seriousness mixed with excitement. King Orji gave his sons his blessing, and the villagers cheered. As Prince Dike and Prince Ikenna stepped into the forest, the atmosphere was charged with expectation. This quest was more than a competition. It was a rite of passage that would determine the future of Anaku. The forest closed around them, and the village waited, not knowing what trials the princes would face or what the outcome would be. Prince Dike and Prince Ikenna ventured deep into the forest, each determined to find the Staff of Leadership. The forest was vast and mysterious, filled with challenges that tested their resolve. As they moved through the dense trees and over rough terrain, the competition between them was fierce, yet there was an unspoken respect for the traditions they were upholding. It was Prince Dike who, after much searching and overcoming obstacles, found the Staff of Leadership. The moment was huge. The staff, as if recognizing him, seemed to glow in his hands. He felt a surge of responsibility and honor. This was it. He was to be the next king of Anaku. However, Prince Ikenna's reaction to this discovery was far from brotherly pride. Consumed by jealousy and a burning desire for power, Prince Ikenna's darker nature took over. In a moment that would define his character forever, he attacked his own brother. The fight was brutal. Prince Ikenna overpowered Prince Dike and, with a heart cold with ambition, took the staff from him. But he didn't stop there. In an act of unspeakable betrayal, he left Prince Dike for dead in the forest, assuming no one would ever know what had happened in those dark woods. Prince Ikenna emerged from the forest alone, the staff in his possession, and was hailed as the victor. The villagers, unaware of the treachery, celebrated what they believed was a fair win. Prince Ikena, now seen as the future king, reveled in the glory, his secret buried deep in the forest. Meanwhile, Prince Dyke lay in the forest, gravely injured and alone. His chances of survival seemed slim, left to the mercy of the wild and the elements. The forest, which had been a place of destiny, had become a scene of betrayal and potential tragedy. Back in the village, preparations began for Prince Ikena's rise to the throne, while the true heir lay forgotten, his fate hanging by a thread. One day Emerem went to the stream to fetch water, as she usually did, but this time something caught her eye. She saw a young man lying motionless by the water's edge, and he looked like he was in bad shape. Frightened and unsure, she quickly ran back to tell Uyegu what she had found. Uyegu's reaction was immediate. They had to help him. Together, they rushed back to the stream. Seeing the man up close, they realized he was badly hurt, with wounds that looked serious. With great effort, they managed to carry him back to their hut. Once there, Uyegu took charge. She was not just an old woman, she had knowledge of herbs and healing that most didn't possess. She carefully cleaned his wounds, applied her special herbal remedies, and did everything she could to bring him back from the brink. Days turned into nights as they cared for him. Uyegu used all her skills, mixing potions, applying poultices, and praying for his recovery. Emerem helped, fetching water, preparing meals, and keeping watch over the stranger. Slowly, the man began to show signs of life. His breathing became steadier, his color returned a bit, and one day he finally opened his eyes. When he came to, he was confused, not knowing where he was or who these kind souls were that had saved him. Uyegu and Emerem introduced themselves, and he learned he was in the care of two women who had every reason to distrust the world, but chose kindness instead. As he recovered, he would tell them his story, and they would learn that this man was none other than Prince Dyke, the rightful heir to the throne of Anaku, betrayed and left for dead by his own brother. For now, though, they focused on his healing, knowing that his survival was a story in itself. As Prince Dyke regained his strength, he shared his terrible tale with Emerem and Uyegu. He told them about the quest, how he had found the staff of leadership, and then the betrayal by his twin brother, Prince Ikena. The shock of hearing that his own flesh and blood could commit such an act was still fresh in his voice. Uyegu and Emerem listened with heavy hearts, understanding all too well the pain of betrayal. Meanwhile, back in the kingdom of Anaku, the absence of Prince Dyke had thrown everything into chaos. When Prince Ikena returned alone with the staff, claiming victory, there was initial celebration. However, as days passed without any sign of Prince Dyke, concern grew into alarm. The villagers began to whisper, "Where was the other prince?" King Orji, deeply troubled by his son's disappearance, ordered search parties into the forest. The search was thorough, driven by the king's love for his son and the village's respect for Prince Dyke. But even after a thorough search, extending beyond 14 days, there was no trace of him. The king, heartbroken, assumed the worst, that his beloved son had fallen prey to wild beasts. He declared a 7-day mourning period for Prince Dyke, a testament to the prince's widespread love. Following the mourning, plans were made to continue with the traditional rituals leading up to the coronation, including a 14-day period of fortification for the prince, culminating in the official ceremony. The kingdom prepared to move forward, even as Prince Dyke's fate remained unknown to them. His true situation hidden within the depths of the forest under Uyegu and Emerem's care. In the forest, Prince Dyke was recovering fast. He could now talk and eat properly. He had shared his sad story with his new friends, and they felt so sorry for him. It was unfortunate that the three of them had walked the path of betrayal, and it was the one thing that brought them together. "You will get better soon, and you will go back to your village in good health. The gods have preserved you for the throne," Uyegu said to him. Prince Dyke couldn't still believe his own brother did that to him, and all for the throne. But he was glad the gods saved him. He enjoyed the company of Emerem and the old woman. Uyegu was very nice and caring, and Emerem was a beauty with an angelic voice. Every evening she would sit under the tree and sing the prince beautiful songs, which he enjoyed so much. With time they grew closer, and each day the prince found more reasons to love her. She was so beautiful, The way she took care of him and the beautiful songs she sang him could not just leave his mind. Uyegu had caught him early as he stared at her while she cooked, and it got her so excited. He knew within him that he had just found a wife, the woman of his dreams. On the day of the coronation, the whole village gathered to celebrate the crowning of the new king. Kings and princes from different kingdoms were invited. Noble men of high standing were invited. Prince Ikenna felt so proud. He had dreamt about this day his whole life, and in a few hours he would be pronounced king. That day, he dressed in his royal clothes and looked so handsome. When he stepped out, the villagers couldn't argue that the gods had made the right choice, as Prince Ikenna looked so glorious in his royal attire. As the traditional priest and the Onu, the chief kingmaker, conducted the final rituals of the coronation, Prince Ikenna was declared king. Yet, as he attempted to sit on the throne, an unseen force pushed him back. He tried several times to sit on the throne, but each time he tried it, it burned him. It was as if the seat of power rejected him. The crowd watched in stunned silence, their excitement turning to confusion and fear as they couldn't understand what was happening. Just then, Ezemuo, the revered seer, entered. All eyes turned to him, desperate for an explanation of the unsettling scene. With a voice that commanded attention, Ezemuo revealed the truth. Prince Ikenna is not the rightful king of this land. He has not earned the staff, and he knows what happened to his brother, Prince Dike. Under Ezemuo's powerful enchantment, Prince Ikenna found himself forced to speak the truth. He fell to his knees, his voice breaking as he confessed to attacking Prince Dike in the forest, taking the staff by force, and leaving his brother for dead. The king, along with everyone present, was shocked. "Your own twin brother," the king repeated, unable to grasp the magnitude of Prince Ikenna's betrayal. The villagers expressed their disgust, openly rejecting the heinous acts Prince Ikenna had committed. Then, amidst the turmoil, Ezemuo announced a turn of fortune. With all eyes on him, he prepared to share a revelation that would reshape the destiny of Anaku. Prince Dike is alive and in the heart of the forest, around the Ajadu River. He was found by two kind people and has fully regained himself. Let the king send out men to go into the forest and bring back the prince, and as for Prince Ikenna, the king shall decide his punishment. With that, he turned and left. Without delay, the king sent out a search party immediately, and they all hurried down to the forest to bring back the prince. Uyegu was happy when she saw the king's men. She knew they had come for the prince and was also happy that Emerem finally found fulfillment. She had watched her bond with the prince, and the love between them was undeniable. Finally, she could die a fulfilled woman, as God had used her to save a kingdom that rejected her 20 years ago. They thanked Uyegu and Emerem and took the prince. Tears rolled down Emerem's eyes. She was so sad the prince was leaving, as they both had bonded so well, and she was going to miss him dearly. The prince was a very kind and gentle man, and the way he talked with her, she was so in love with him. She never thought she would ever see him again, but the prince had no plans to leave them. He ordered the men to bring them out of the forest, as they both saved his life, but Uyegu insisted she would stay back. That place was home to her, and she would never leave her home. Unknown to them, Uyegu was no human, but a spirit. She was the guardian of the forest and had existed for over 1,000 years. Her mission was to rescue good people and not allow any harm to come near them. But she never revealed her identity to humans so that they wouldn't be scared of her. She could be an old woman, and she could also be a young woman whenever she wanted. All the stories about the villagers banishing her were all made up, and her heart could only be visible whenever she wanted it to be. That was why the first search party couldn't see the heart. She held Prince Dike and Emerem's hand and blessed them. Then she said goodbye to them. As they set off, Emerem turned to say goodbye to her once more, as she wasn't happy to leave her behind. But to her utter amazement, everything had vanished. Fear gripped them, as they now knew that they had been with a god and not a man. The villagers went crazy at the sight of Prince Dike. Everyone was so happy to see him. His mother shed tears of joy. He was a man after the heart of the people. Ezemuo was also there to celebrate the prince in person, and a date was fixed immediately for his coronation. It was going to be a double celebration, as he would also be getting married the same day to the love of his life, Emerem. The prince told the story of how he found Emerem in the forest and how she was abandoned by her mother, Nena. Nena was shocked. She couldn't believe it was Emerem standing with the prince. She had changed and looked so beautiful. She cried her heart out when she learned she was the cause of Emerem's misery. Yet she treated her with so much wickedness. Her sisters, who were all still unmarried, as they were waiting for kings and rich men to come ask for their hand in marriage, were so sorry as they had all treated Emerem badly. They came closer as they knelt and asked their sister for forgiveness. Emerem had a good heart, and she knew she deserved to be happy and free. The gods had turned her pains into joy. Therefore, she forgave her sisters and her mother. She knew they must have learned their lessons. The villagers stood in shock as the prince openly made his intentions to marry Emerem known. He told them that she was the best thing that had happened to him in his journey. He looked at her with so much love in his eyes, and Emerem loved him too. On a grand occasion, Prince Dyke was crowned king alongside his queen, Emerem. They got married and lived happily ever after. The king disowned Prince Ikenna and sent him out of the palace. He was to live like an ordinary man in the village as punishment for what he had done. Thank you so much for taking out your time to watch this beautiful story, and I hope you enjoyed the story. I would like you to share your lessons in the comment sections, and also don't forget to tell us where you are watching from. If you are yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please don't skip this video without subscribing and turn on your notification bell so that you get notified whenever we post new stories.